What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're finally putting out some DLC coverage, and what a way to kick things off than to cover two Pokemon that have undergone some changes, more specifically their ability, and that is Empoleon and Shiftry. Now, if you haven't played the DLC yet, and if you're not sure, any of the changes yet, the one thing that I can tell you, at least for these two old Pokemon, is that Empoleon now gets competitive as opposed to Defiant. By the way, I can't put this into Showdown yet, because it's not updated, but you can still write it in. And then the main difference here with Shiftry is that instead of that lame early bird ability, now you can have Wind Rider. And again, same idea, I just wrote it in. I can't actually put it in. But if you're wondering if that's actually legal or not, it is, because if you just go onto, Cerebi.net, of course, they already have everything up there. Empoleon has, again, here it is, competitive. And then if you go into Shiftry over here, it also has the ability Wind Rider here, right? So I'm just highlighting it right there. So, right off the top of my head, good job, Game Freak. Finally we have some very, very good abilities to, two old favorites, I would say. A lot of people like Empoleon. Piplup has been a very, very popular Pokemon in the franchise. And while it did have a little bit of some use, in VGC in its past, but it hasn't really been used all that much competitive wise in terms of the doubles aspects. But now with competitive as opposed to Defiant, that is a big change, right? And because you just look at this attack stat, base 86, it's not great, of course, but because its superior attacking stat is that special attack, base 111. So now that you add competitive here, and then you just consider all the stat changes like Intimidate, running around, now all of a sudden Empoleon can really, really make use of this change. And +2 is a huge boost to it, right? So what we're going to do first is we'll talk about Empoleon first, and then at a later timestamp in the video, we'll take a look at Shiftry in terms of how it can be used in terms of this Wind Rider ability, and some possible sets there that you can consider. But first, I want to take a look at Empoleon. Okay, so again, just starting back with Empoleon here. So again, the Water Steel typing is very, very good. And then you add the fact that it's relatively bulky, just makes it for good viability, right? This Special Defense 101 is pretty solid. Base HP 84, not too bad. 88 defense, also not too bad. So you're going to be investing quite a bit into some of its HP and defense, and a little bit of its special attack, okay, with maybe a tiny bit amount of speed, not a whole lot. But the idea here is you're trying to make use of its bulk here, right? And then with moves like Flash Cannon and Hydro Pump, it can do a lot of damage, especially after the competitive boost, right? Now, unfortunately, it does not get Scald, all right? So that's the sad thing about it. In fact, not a lot of things got Scald, even though they brought the move back. So that was a little bit of a shame, but, I digress, right? So if we look back here, just look at it, add its typing and its resistances, right? Again, the Water Steel typing. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 resistances, or, immunity in this case, right? As far as poison is concerned, 11, that's a lot, okay? So this thing is relatively bulky, okay? And then at the same time, I believe it gets access to Roost because it was an egg move. So that's also very good as well. It's a longevity kind of thing with Empoleon here, right? So just in terms of this, you just look at its weaknesses. Okay, electric weakness, ground weakness, fighting weakness, right? Those are the main things. So electric fighting. So the main thing right now is I'm thinking Iron Hands is something to consider. And then at the same time, okay, who else is really giving me an electric move? Nothing much, right? Sacred Sword Pressure is a thing. And then of course Landorus, clicking super effective ground moves is going to be something to consider, right? But at the same time, we'll, just looking at what it can give you against some of the other stuff in the meta. So, if you just consider Flutter Mane and Chi-Yu, by the way. I'm on, the National Pokedex, by the way, so, everything is going to come up as illegal at first. But, if you just consider these two, the Empoleon kind of can just wall these two almost, right? Because, you have the Steel coverage for the Flutter Mane, and then at the same time, the Chi-Yu, the fire type attacks are not going to do so much damage. And then you just slap on something like an Assault Vest here, and it does get Flip Turn this generation, right? So that was a cool thing to see. I saw it over here. Oh, not over there. I saw it over here, that it did get flip turn. Yes, it does. So now you get a nice, you know, pivot move here as a potential. And then from here, you can just have like some other coverage move here, like maybe an ice type coverage that can really help it out there. But, you know, in terms of like a Terra type, you can definitely just do like Terra Fairy. That can, oh, I put Terra Dark there. No, I did put Terra Fairy. So that can definitely, you know, help you out there in terms of like the Iron Hand weakness, you know, the fighting type attacks. And then the electric moves are neutral. You can also definitely consider something like Terra Grass, you know, in some situations, right? Just to, you know, help you out in the weakness to, you know, the electric type attacks. But at the same time, you know, okay, I still think Fairy is a little bit better in this sense, right? Because again, you know, you don't want to like be Grass and then just be weak to Chi-Yu altogether, right? But I do think an Assault Vest is a very, very plausible item, right? And then at the same time, you just consider stuff like, okay, there's things like Gholdengo running around, you have good resistances there. Then even like Heatran, right? Heatran's another one that you can definitely do well against, right? So like a lot of these super meta options, you know, Empoleon has, you know, something going for it there, right? And I do expect Empoleon to be a good water type on some of these fire, water, grass cores. Now, is it gonna, you know, completely replace Urshifu? I don't think so. But at the same time, you know, the bulk that it has here is actually relatively good. So let me just replace some of these. And, you know, just in terms of like an EV spread, you know, with Empoleon, just like a general one, the first thing I'm thinking about is like, okay, if I don't have the Terra option available, can I survive Landorus and Iron Hands, right? So I'm gonna probably just go modest here, max the HP, and let's hop into the damage calculator, right? And then let's put up Iron Hands here. And ideally, the common Iron Hands kind of set is about 156 attack. Now, there are some Iron Hands that do have some max attack, but the general consensus is the most common Iron Hands investment is you're gonna get somewhere between 76 and 156 because those are the two EV bumps there for the Iron Hands. So again, you can see Wild Charge and Drain. Well, you do live Drain Punch right away, so that's always pretty good, but the Wild Charge is the one that you want to try and live. So what we're going to do is just invest in this defense a little bit until we can get this calc that we want here. And you can see it's actually quite a bit of investment. All right, so you can stop right here. This is the 6.3 roll. Otherwise, you can just go for the guarantee, which is 148 defense, right? So we'll invest into something like this. And then from here, you have 108 EVs left. You don't really need a whole lot of speed. I would imagine something like 84 is okay. So this way, if you are on one of those, you know, Tornadus Tailwind teams, you can go to 168 under Tailwind and outspeed something like a Chi-Yu. So you have that. And then from here, just maybe a point here in the Spadef, right? You know, you don't really need so much. And then it's still an even number to utilize this Assault Vest. And then from here, you can just go right here to like your special attack, right? So here's their EV jump here in terms of the special attack. So 154, you know, again, doesn't seem all that much, but you know, you have to consider you might be getting the competitive boost. So this is actually going to be doing quite a bit of damage, you know, and then from here, you might as well just put a little bit more into the speed here, right? 85, you know, go for like some speed creeping. And again, this last move here, it can be a lot of different moves here. I also saw something like Chilling Water, which is something that can be useful, right? And again, if you don't know what Chilling Water does, it, you know, basically reduces attack damage by 1. So it does get access to that. Oh, I'm sorry. Chilling Water. I put Chilling Attack. Yeah, there we go. Chilling Water. So there's that. And, you know, it just gets some other cool moves, right? And again, I do have an Assault Vest, so you have to click an attacking move. But then there's other things you can consider that are like non-Assault Vests, right? But, you know, that I digress. You know, Swords Dance Aqua Jet is a set you can maybe even consider potentially. Oh, no, wait, that's a physical set. Never mind. It does get Haze. I did see that. So that's pretty good into Dondozo, right? So you can probably see some niches with that, even though Dondozo isn't all that common this time around. What else? Oh, it does get Icy Wind. So there's that. All right. So a little bit of speed control there that you can consider with the Empoleon here. So you have even that to throw in there. Okay. What else do you get? In terms of like a special attacking move, Air Slash. That's interesting. I don't know if we can, you know, throw that in there. Grass Knot, maybe. Okay, these are all physical moves. Ice Spinner's physical. Ice Beam, that could be pretty good. You know, especially like some of the flying types that are running around. So you can even consider that. What else? Yeah, there's the Haze, by the way. Like we said, flip turn, dual wing beat. Some people got dual wing beat this generation. Anything over here? Yeah, no. So, you know, maybe just like something like this, you know, a pivot move, a speed control move, and 2 stab moves. This could be a decent starting Empoleon set if you want to try and use it. You don't even have to use Assault Vest. You can use something else, like maybe even like Life Orb, or maybe even like Goggles or Berry, right? Let's just say, you know, because it does get Roost, right? So let's do Roost, right? And maybe even Icy Wind, and then something like, I don't know, let's say Citrus Berry, or even like a Safety Goggles kind of thing, right? You know, just to like ignore Mungus. That could be something that you can also consider, but I digress in terms of that. But, you know, Roost, great recovery move, by the way, right? So, you know, if you're interested in that, that could be a potential set with Empoleon. But just overall, it's just so much more viable now that you can use this, especially against a lot of the super meta options that, you know, again, Water Steel is going to be great. And again, like, finally, we get to use something that, you know, just feels new and refreshing, and hopefully we can see some strong Fire, Water, Grass cores with Empoleon. But again, I'm just spotlighting it here. You know, if you even just consider also like Landorus, and then just something like Hisui and Arcanine, right? You know, these are also 2 Pokemon that, again, now have to fear the Empoleon because you have a Water move here for the Arcanine, and then at the same time, you could have an Ice move or a Water move against the Landorus. The one thing I do want to check is, do we also live Landorus Stomping Tantrum? I believe we should. Let me just make sure anyway. Let's just click like this set. Adamant, let's go Adamant 196. So that's Earthquake, but I want to see Stomping Tantrum. That's the main thing that I want to look at here. It does. Oh, that's very good, actually. 252. Let me try that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, like, even, like, max attack, Adamant Landorus, like, you're living Stomping Tantrum. So that's very, very good, the fact that we can do that. And then, of course, have a strong enough special attack, you know, to just wipe this thing off the board, especially, right? So you can definitely consider this. And again, like, I'm not saying this is going to be, like, groundbreaking, but is it viable? Yes, 100% viable. Is it going to win you some tournaments? Absolutely, yes. Anything that's viable can definitely win you a tournament, right? It's just, it finally can fulfill, like, a good niche on your team to counter a lot of these meta options, right? And maybe we'll do like a team building video later, right? But for now, you know, because the DLC is just literally fresh a few hours ago, I just wanted to at least spotlight Empoleon and, you know, just bring light into its relevance in VGC at this given moment. All right, so now let's take a look at Shiftry. All right, so next up is the Shiftry here. And again, like we mentioned in the beginning of the video, it does get Wind Rider now. And if you don't know what Wind Rider is, you know, just take a look at Bramblegast. Where if you just read its ability, you're getting a +1 boost to your attacking stat if you're hit by a wind move or if you click Tailwind, right? So that means, you know, you can probably just put this on Tornadus teams, something like maybe even Zapdos teams in general, but ideally Tornadus would be the prime target. And again, I've put these two side by side here just to like offer some kind of comparison. Because right now Bramblegast was the signature Pokemon with Wind Rider, but now they gave it to Shiftry, which in essence kind of makes sense if you just think of the Tengu lore, right? But in the grand scheme of things, you know, what did Wind Rider also do for Bramblegast? It gave it immunity to Heat Wave, right? So if you just think of like, you know, things with like Chi-Yu or Heatran, these were 2 Pokemon that were relatively prevalent in the meta that did use Heat Wave. So now as a grass type, you're immune to that. You're also immune to stuff like Blizzard, right? Or Icy Wind. These are all moves that you get immunity to. And then at the same time, Bleak Windstorm from Tornadus. So that's also, you know, important in terms of like having immunity against. And then Hurricane, I believe, is also falls under that category, to my understanding, right? So, you know, very good for grass types. Was very good for Bramblegast. And again, even any kind of damage that you did take, you could just click Strength Sap. And then you get to heal yourself, okay, depending on the target's attack stat. So if you did get your Sash broken, you could potentially get it back by using Strength Sap. And again, this is the Emilio Forbes set with Shadow Sneak, Power Whip, Terra Blast, and then Strength Sap, right? Terra Blast, Terra Ghost here. So you had good Ghost coverage, so you had something for Goldengo and Fluttermane, you know, with Shadow Sneak and Terra Blast. And then at the same time, Power Whip was pretty good into Urshifu and other water types that were used. Okay, and then was also pretty good into like Ursaluna in that sense. And then Strength Sap, of course, you know, it gave you healing ability and then it lowered attacking stats, you know, by 1 stage, right? So Brambleghast had a pretty good niche in Regulation D. Now the question now that we have to ask ourselves with Shiftry is it better or worse than Brambleghast? And you know, off the top, you just look at its stats. Okay, you know, that's the first thing you got to look at. 90 base HP, 100 attack, 60 defenses in both, and then speed is 80. All right. Now, if you look at Brambleghast, okay, you know, 55 base HP, so it's got a ton more HP than Brambleghast, so that's a positive. But 15 less base attack, right? Because this is 100 and Brambleghast is 115. It's got 10 more defenses than Shiftry, and it even has 10 more base speed than Shiftry, right? So, you know, is Shiftry better than Brambleghast? More HP, but worse everywhere else in terms of the, you know, the stats here. But, you know, we have to look beyond that at the same time, right? But as far as like the stats are concerned, looks like the Brambleghast does have the edge over Shiftry in that department. How about the typing? Grass, Dark. Okay, so you remember like Meowscarada, right? But Grass Dark gets a little bit more interesting. You're weak to fairy coverage, and anytime you're weak to, you know, Fluttermane, that's not great news in the grand scheme of things. Now, Brambleghast was also weak to Fluttermane because of Shadow Ball, but you did have a Sash, right? Whereas Shiftry, I don't know, can you put a Focus Sash on this Pokemon? Maybe you can, but I would imagine some other item here would be in its place. But at the same time, you know, you are also weak to Iron Hands now, right? With this Dark typing, and you're also weak to Sacred Sword. So I don't know if Grass Dark is a better typing than Grass Ghost in this sense, because now you do have a little bit more other weaknesses that Brambleghast did not have. So, you know, again, being a Ghost type, you know, having immunity into Sacred Sword and the fighting move from Iron Hands was a big plus. But Shiftry not having that is a bit of a loss. That being said, you do get Leaf Blade. Okay, that's a very good move, right? You just overall have a better move pool than Brambleghast, right? So I think that's the main plus here. You also get Stab, Sucker Punch, and you get Knockoff. So that's pretty good in that sense, right? So if you just even look at its move pool here from Cerebi, again, of course you have to evolve it. So Leaf Blade, like we said, Sunny Day, Chlorophyll might be something to exploit with Shiftry, I would imagine, you know, if you don't want to use Wind Rider. But Wind Rider was definitely much better than Early Bird in that sense, right? You know, Low Kick could be a thing. Maybe even Trailblaze, you know, for, you know, increasing its speed. What else do we get here? We get Hex and Snarl. Oh my goodness. Icy Wind and Rock Tomb, you know, speed control moves there. So that's pretty interesting in that sense. You get Low Sweep. Okay, again, more speed control moves there. What else do we get here? Bullet Seed could be something, right? Maybe a loaded dice set Bullet Seed. So that could be a thing there. Foul Play, okay. Seed Bomb, all right, but I think Leaf Blade would be a little bit better in that sense. Rock Slide, Swords Dance, okay. So, you know, there's going to be some sets here that you can definitely consider. It also gets Will-O-Wisp, all right, in terms of like TM access. All right, what else are we getting? Oh, it gets a lot. You can learn a lot of different moves here. So, you know, there's definitely some sets here that, you know, people are definitely going to try. Oh, it even gets Grassy Glide. That's another cool thing. So, you know, maybe that could be exploited in that sense. Defog is also interesting, but I don't think it's going to be huge here. But I would imagine it's a wait and see approach, right? Like, you know, is this better than Brambleghast? I am not sure, right? I can definitely see some sets with like Leaf Blade, Sucker Punch, and Knockoff. Okay, and then from there, like maybe a couple coverage moves. I'm just not entirely sure on the item yet. But I would imagine maybe even definitely a defensive Terra in this sense, right? Maybe even like Terra Fairy would be a play there. But Shiftry would be interesting to use, I would say. It's definitely a lot more viable now than it was before. So thank you, Game Freak, for that, you know, for giving us another tool in Wind Rider that we could potentially test, right? But, you know, maybe we'll do some future team building here with Shiftry. But either way, I'm not sure yet, you know, but at the very least, it is something that you can definitely test, and you know, we'll try it out in maybe some tournaments or whatnot. But let me know what you think of Empoleon and Shiftry's changes within the DLC and the competitive meta, and if there are other changes that you are excited about from the DLC, let us know in the comments. We'll be putting a whole bunch of other videos, you know, going over some other changes to some other Pokemon. We'll start the team building sessions again, you know, for sure, and then from there, you know, players trying to get ready for the upcoming regionals for Regulation E. we'll definitely, you know, put out some coverage for that as well. I'm just waiting for the rule set to be legal, okay? But we'll just have to be, you know, not in the essence like legal, but like, of course, releasing what some of these Pokemon, if they're legal or not, right? But we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.